Mom gives birth to 9 babies, then doctors realize one of them isn't a baby. 23 years ago for love, a woman from the Colombian Caribbean was able to bear a belly, a lie and a shame that would outweigh more than raising 9 children. Liliana Caceres, she remembers how on November 28, 1997, the illusion of her beloved and of half the country came to the floor like the rags that came out of her belly. Caceres faked a pregnancy for 9 months, but not an ordinary one that was able to amaze Garcia Marquez himself. In an interview for the program La Red, Liliana Caceres remembers the day when newspapers and newscasts announced her pregnancy as the collective hope that the country craved. Between miraculous catches, massacres, a government that languished in the twilight of illegitimacy, and a national team that lost the Copa America in the quarterfinals against Bolivia, Colombia only had one woman left with an extraordinary belly in Barranquilla. Liliana's story, which transcended the dusty streets of the Nueva Colombia neighborhood of La Arenosa, began the day her cousin introduced her to Alejandro. At the age of 15, the clumsy innocence, the difficulty of social margins, and the needs of a woman who had left her parents' house in a search of a life of her own, the affection of a man became everything. Alejandro was very cool with me. I was in my teens at the time, about to turn 16 years old. He helped me, he gave me money so I could eat, so that I could have something to go to school with, so I wouldn't have so many needs. He was very cute, says Caceres in an interview with La Red. But the idyll only lasted 3 months. Alejandro and her life changed when Lorena, her best friend, fell in love with the same man she considered the love of her life and whom she herself had introduced to him. Between claims, blows, and rudeness, Liliana found out that her best friend was expecting a child from her lover, news that shook her. As a last hope not to lose Alejandro's affection and with the intention that Lorena would not enter her mother-in-law's house, she decided to invent a pregnancy. As she recounted in Soho magazine, in the first months in front of her boyfriend and his family, she feigned cravings, dizziness, and nausea. She drank water to look more bloated and asked other pregnant women for symptoms and advice for the first months of pregnancy. In the 5th month, she decided to wear a one-piece swimsuit in which she began to put rags and churros to resemble a normal belly. She dressed in long and wide garments and bathed while everyone was asleep at her mother-in-law's house. Even though it took me half an hour, I did it perfect. Alejandro left very early and came back late, and my mother-in-law worked at a Hamley home. The days that she stayed off, it was more difficult for me. I used to go to the bathroom little and did not change my belly, Caceres told La Red. In those days, a news item went around the world. The American Kenny McCaughey had a rare pregnancy in history. 7 children were the product of her childbirth on November 19, 1997. Due to the excessive size of her belly and the comments of neighbors and acquaintances, Liliana was convinced that this had to be her story. A story spread by his cousin who worked with a renowned journalist from the city. The gossip that began as a rumor in the precarious streets of Nueva Colombia spread throughout the city of Barranquilla, causing a commotion among the disbelievers and the astonished. I was tired with the weight of my belly and my idea was to leave Barranquilla. I thought, now I take off all that little rags and go, I say I lost the babies and they'll see if they believe me or not. But that was what I imagined, but things didn't turn out that way, Caceres assured the entertainment program. Between lies and deceptions, Liliana Caceres remembers in the program La Red how she was taken with deceit to the University Hospital of that city, where a doctor performed an ultrasound in which he supposedly saw the formation of the several fetuses. The doctor who performed the examination was in charge of making the public announcement for the first time in Colombia, by the hand of an unscrupulous journalist, about a woman who was going to have 9 children in a single delivery. I had a trauma when I learned that there were so many people from many parts of the country who were going to help me. I wanted to speak. It was very hard. I don't know if at the moment he wanted to take my life. I don't know if he wanted to bury myself in a part and not get out of that hole anymore. I imagined so many things that I wanted to disappear, Caceres told La Red. On November 28, 1997, exactly 23 years ago, Alejandro, his family, Barranquilla, and the country learned of a hoax that went from outrage to mockery. With the idea of hospitalizing her, Liliana Caceres remembers in the program the struggle she had with the doctors who wanted to examine her. After speaking with a psychologist and telling her the truth, and after entering a state that is remembered, she became like crazy, was handcuffed to the stretcher and sedated. The psychologist lifted my shirt while I was handcuffed, began to remove my rags, and opened the door for journalists to see me. She helped me make myself famous, but it was a fame that hurt me, said Caceres on La Red. After this news occupied pages in the national media and spaces in the noon news, Liliana says that she left the clinic secretly in the company of her father, fleeing from the press, from Barranquilla's mocking from her family who suffered public shame and from her friends. Since then, she has protected herself in the city of Cartagena from mockery and reproaches, thinking that the walls would not allow the past to enter. But the ghost of the anecdote reached the city, took a couple of jobs and the tranquility she was looking for. Today, the rag belly costume is one of the most famous of the Barranquilla Carnival. Over time, she was able to rebuild her life next to the Caribbean that inspired Gabo, the same she invited her to a Chronicles workshop to tell her story, and she was amazed at her ingenuity. Liliana Caceres now braids and massages to earn a living and to raise her children, the real ones, and her grandson. At 39 years old, she's aware that her lie, the lie that she would have liked to be true, took her away forever from the love of her life. A woman in love is capable of doing anything crazy, she said. What happened to this woman was God's blessing. After being told by doctors she was pregnant with septuplets, a woman from the West African country of Mali gave birth to 9 babies on Tuesday in a rare case of nonuplets. Both the mother, 25-year-old Halima Cissé, and the nonuplets who were delivered via C-section were said to be doing well, according to Mali's Minister of Health. The nonuplets' birth is thought to have broken the current world record for the most living children born in a single birth. It appears to be the first time on record that a woman had given birth to 9 surviving babies at once. The 5 girls and 4 boys and their mother are all doing well, Mali's health minister said in a statement. The mother, 25-year-old Halima Cissé, gave birth to the babies by cesarean section on Tuesday in Morocco after being sent there for special care, Mali's top health official announced. Associated Press reporters saw some of the babies wiggling their hands and feet inside incubators Wednesday in the private Ain Borja clinic in Casablanca. Medical staff checked their status regularly in the neonatal ward, wallpapered with cartoon characters. Cissé had been expecting 7 babies. Malian doctors under government orders sent her to Morocco for the births because hospitals in Mali, one of the world's poorest countries, are ill-equipped to provide adequate care for an exceptional multiple pregnancy. The Casablanca clinic's director Youssef Alaoui told Moroccan State TV that they had been contacted by Malian doctors about the case a month and a half ago. They were not expecting 9 babies, he said. Cissé gave birth prematurely at 30 weeks and is now in stable condition after heavy bleeding for which she was given a blood transfusion, he said. In an interview with BBC Afrique, Cissé's husband said he was overjoyed by news of the nonuplets' birth and not worried about how the family would adjust to being a family of 12. Cissé and her husband already had 1 child at the time of the nonuplets' birth. "I'm very happy," the BBC reported adjutant Kader Arbi said. "God gave us these children. He's the one to decide what will happen to them. I'm not worried about that. When the Almighty does something, He knows why." While cases of nonuplets are rare, they have happened before. In 1971, an Australian woman gave birth to nonuplets, 2 of whom were stillborn. According to the New York Times, 3 of the Australian nonuplets died less than 24 hours after their birth, with the remaining 4 following over the course of the next 6 days. Then a woman in Malaysia gave birth to nonuplets in 1999, although none of those babies survived longer than 6 hours. The Guinness Book of World Records told the Associated Press they were working to verify the Cissé's delivery in Morocco, as the current record for the most living children born during a single birth was 8. The current title belongs to Nadia Suleiman, also known as Octomom, whose octuplets are now 12 years old. Once verified, Cissé and her nonuplets are expected to be the new world record holders. Alaoui, the clinic director, told the AP that as far as he was aware, Cissé had not used fertility treatments. The Malian Health Ministry did not provide any other information about the pregnancy or births. Yacoub Khalaf, a professor of reproductive medicine at King's College London, said that such births would be extraordinarily unlikely without fertility treatment, and noted the dangers involved with such multiple births. The mother was at severe risk of losing her uterus or losing her life, he said. The babies could suffer physical and mental handicaps. The risk of cerebral palsy is astronomically higher. He urged more awareness worldwide about monitoring fertility treatments and about the risks and costs of having so many premature babies at one time. The Minister of Health for Mali greeted the parents and 9 kids on their arrival, sharing photos on Facebook. She thanked the medical team in Morocco and said the state honored its commitment to support the new family. Joy and satisfaction to see them in good health. The mother and babies are doing well and have arrived safe and sound in Mali. This is a first. It's a source of pride for us. All were delivered by cesarean section. Nonuplets are extremely rare. Medical complications and multiple births of this kind often mean that some of the babies do not reach full term. For this woman, it was God's gift. A Chinese woman has given birth to naturally conceived quadruplets, who are 2 sets of identical twins in a 1 in 70 million miracle. The 2 boys and 2 girls were delivered at 32 weeks to their 31-year-old mother, known by her surname Gao, via cesarean section on Wednesday at a Hubei hospital. Upon receiving the thrilling news, Ms. Gao's husband described it as a blessing from God, after his wife had previously suffered 3 lost pregnancies, reported local media. The first set of twins, a girl and a boy, were born at 9:28 on August 12th at the Yichang Central People's Hospital, according to Hubei Daily. They were followed by the other pair of twins, who were also a girl and a boy, 1 minute later. The second baby is said to be the heaviest one, weighing 1.87 kilograms, 4.12 pounds, while the fourth child weighs 1.17 kilograms, 2.58 pounds as the lightest. Dr. Li Hua, director of obstetrics at the Hubei Hospital, said that Ms. Gao's delivery was extremely rare, as the quadruplets were made up of two sets of identical twins. The odds of delivering two sets of naturally occurring identical twins is somewhere in the range of 1 in 70 million, reports say. Due to their premature births, the quadruplets have been transferred to the neonatal ward and assisted with ventilators to help them breathe. Before giving birth to her 4 babies, the first-time mother is said to have suffered 2 miscarriages and another lost pregnancy caused by twin-twin transfusion syndrome. Her husband, known by his surname Luo, has said that he was thrilled as the children were long expected by the whole family. "It is also a blessing from God to me," Mr. Gao told reporters. But the Chinese father is also worried about the financial struggles raising the quadruplets as the only breadwinner in the house, earning only 4,000 yuan or 439.17 pounds a month. Mr. Luo told the local newspaper, "To take care of the 4 children, our entire family have been involved. My parents, in-laws, and 2 aunts have all come to help take care of the children." The most babies in one pregnancy was allegedly 11 babies. An Italian woman, Dorothea, allegedly gave birth to undecouplets, 11 babies, after having given birth to nonuplets, 9 babies. However, it does not say how many, if any, survived. There are a lot of complications to mom and babies: lack of space, blood flow, mom ends up on bed rest, tend to have gestational diabetes, etc. At least 1 to 2 of the babies will end up losing the battle for space and good blood flow and may be born with some sort of physical or mental disability. In the days before IVF and birth control, babies were usually born singly, roughly once a year, throughout the fertile years of a woman's life. Of course, not many babies lived beyond their 5th birthday, and large numbers were miscarried or stillborn. Twins to triplets are probably the safest to the mom and babies, but again still can be a fight for space and blood supply. Moms may end up on bed rest and usually have a C-section delivery. Do you agree with multiple babies?